Good morning, friends. Ann here. Got my cup of water today because I've already had two coffees. And today's reading is from John chapter 13, verses 1 through 17. 1 through 17. Today is considered Maundy Thursday in terms of Holy Week. And it's the day that we are reminded that Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. So let's read it and then we'll talk about it. It says this. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. Friends, I love that phrase. Having loved his disciples, he loved them to the end. He knew that he was approaching the cross, and the cross would be the ultimate act of love. But this was a precursor to that. He showed how much he loved them. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Friends, this was the ultimate act of love, submission, and sacrifice. See, actually, this job of washing someone's feet, that was the job of the most humble servant. Like Jews in a Jewish home, they would look for somebody else to do it. They wouldn't even do it, even if it was a Jewish servant, they wouldn't do it. And so here it is that Jesus is the one that humbles himself to wash others' feet. Because no one had done that as they entered the place. You can imagine how nasty and dirty and disgusting and smelly their feet would have been from walking around in these barely there sandals all day. And they were seated around a place where you could smell other people's feet. You could see the dirt and the filth on other people's feet. Nobody had humbled themselves to do it. As a matter of fact, the account in Luke tells us that the disciples had been arguing about who was going to be the greatest. They were worried about status and position. And here Jesus does this living parable. And he puts a towel around his waist and he becomes the lowest of the low. And Peter doesn't respond well to that. Peter says this. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part in me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter answered, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you," for he knew who was going to betray him. And that is why he said not everyone was clean. So friends, here we see that Peter also had a pride problem, that Peter wasn't willing to go wash the feet of other people, but nor was he willing to have Jesus wash his feet. This really struck me today because I began to think of how often it is that I would rather serve than be served. It's important for us to serve. It's important for us to take the most lowly place, the most lowly job. But then when I am in the position where someone else is serving me, I often take that gift away from that person. Friends, there is pride on either end of that spectrum. Either we're so prideful that we don't want to serve people, or we're so prideful that we don't want anyone to serve us. Friends, it's important for us to realize that, yes, we are called to be grace givers, but we are also called to be grace receivers. We are called to be those who help and serve, but we are also called to be those who receive help and receive service. Be a grace giver, but also be a grace receiver. Have a good day.